The hardest thing to do, the hardest thing to deal with, the hardest thing to put up with is transition. The thing we hate the most is transition. We hate it because it takes us out of our element. It takes us out of our comfort zone. You cannot control everything when you are in transition. It is what it is. It happens like it happens. I can't be pretty about it. I got to come out any way I can. I'm in transition. When my water breaks, get ready. Here I come. That's my sign. Here I come. Touch your neighbor and say, move.
Anybody can criticize. Anybody can talk scandalously about you because of what you did or did not do. But they don't know your story. They don't know how many storms God has brought you through.
You are more than the job title that you have. You are more than the company you work for. You are more than anything you have experienced up to this point. You are everything that gives you energy when you think about it. Find out what are the things that make you leap out of the bed in the morning. What are the things that give you energy when you think about them? Your purpose is in your passion.
I've learned how to ignore some foolishness. Come on, if you try to respond to everything that everybody got to say and accuse and every opinion that people got, that's all you will spend your time doing. But I've discovered that God has anointed you to do his will, and you do not have to waste your time responding to foolishness.
Find the thing that gives you energy when you do it. That ideas start teaming over in your head when you get in it. Find the thing that when you get into it, you're curious about it. You're attracted to it. You're drawn to it. Because whatever the anointing you respect is the anointing you receive.
Learn how to survive the winter. Speaking of life in its simplest aspect, the first key to learn in your life on the spinning planet is to learn how to survive. So we cannot rearrange the coming of the winters, but here's what we could do. Get stronger, wiser, and better so that we can survive better. Learning to handle the next winter of a divorce, the next winter of an illness, the next winter of a death in the family, the next winter of a loss financially, to be better equipped.
You got friends for a reason, you got friends for a season, and you have friends for a lifetime. As the patterns of my life change, so do the friends that I hang out with more frequently. And I also believe that as you change and the patterns in your life change, people show up in your life for a reason. And it's exactly the kind of people that you need. They're there for a reason. And the friends of yours that are friends of yours for a lifetime, I bet you don't hang out with them that much at all anyway. But I bet they're the first person that you call when you need to talk to somebody about somebody important. And those folks that are still sitting at the bar and love to blow money that they don't have, those were friends for a season.
Get rid of all things, people, and situations that no longer belong in your life. That means you are going to boldly step into and walk into the unfamiliar. Boldly get rid of things, people, relationships, friendships, surroundings. Deciding that you love yourself enough to no longer walk in the direction of pain, drama, or dysfunction.
The collection of ideas that turned your life around, the collection of ideas that caused you to learn extra skills. You got to have a good plan. You got to have a good health plan. You know, you can't be out of breath, right? You got to have the breath. You got to have the vitality. So you got to have a good health plan. You got to have a good financial plan. Learning to handle the passing of time. And that's what life is all about. Taking them on, finding solutions, executing, recording progress.
And however you see yourself is going to impact or determine your thinking. Your perception has to do with the way you process information. I mean, if you're stuck in inferior and you're stuck in all these things, it will determine the way you process information. It's going to affect the way you view situations around you in your life.
You are in your new season. Some of y'all came up with New Year's resolutions. You've already fell apart. You're supposed to step into the happy new you year. So many of y'all are in spiritual chains. You're not even physically behind bars. You are spiritually behind bars. You are stuck. You are institutionalized.
The higher we went up, the smaller the circle got. If you really think you're going higher, you got to notice that the higher you go, the smaller your circle. You can't go high and go wide at the same time. If you don't do that right and do it the other way, you're going to keep falling over, so there may have to be some cutting back.
Here's what everybody has the opportunity to climb the ladder. Now, first, all you need is what? A chance. But here's the greatest advantage, having the right philosophy. A change and a shift in philosophy here starts to change everything. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is noble. If you work hard on yourself, you could make a fortune, which is exciting.
If you have friends that make you wrong for changing your life for the better, that's their issue. It's not yours.
I want you to be transformed out of the world. Transformed or changed from how you used to think, how you used to act. I want you to change yourself from the world to the Word. I want you to change yourself from those ideas that you got in the world and be ye transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind.
If you're not prepared to go through some bloody stuff and some dirty stuff, you don't want to keep feeding on this kind of word, because it will open up your mind and open up your thinking and open up your concepts until all of a sudden you are uncomfortable in what you were once comfortable in.
We were born to do a special work. You were born to do a special work. You are here for a reason, to do the greater work. Not just work for a living, but to make a difference with your life.
You're thinking on another level, and it's causing a separation. What used to be funny isn't funny anymore. And what you used to be satisfied with, you're not satisfied with anymore. And all of a sudden, you don't fit in the places you used to fit in, and they think you're acting strange, and they say things like, you forgot where you came from. I didn't forget it, I just can't stay in it.
So we've been talking about the power to change yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, you all have the power to change your life. Right now, you have the power to change. Say this out loud. I have the power to change my life now.
Every time I climb up a little bit, I start this pattern where I sabotage, or I start to believe too much, or my relationships go sideways. You're falling into these patterns. There's massive power in beginning to understand that's not who you are. You are not your possessions. You are not your accomplishments. You are not what other people say you are. You are not what you look like. And guess what else you're not? You are not your patterns, but your life becomes a combination and a result of your pattern. The great thing about us is that we can change these patterns if we identify them.
You got to weep with those that weep and laugh with those that laugh. You got to have this full understanding of the game. You got to understand the highs and the lows, the tragedy and the triumph. Just like in your mind, you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't become a victim of yourself. Beware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise. And see if you can't engage in this mental contest and win the day. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue, chase, run after. Success is something you develop, something you become. You attract success. So the whole key to unlock all the treasures is by your own personal development. What you become is much more valuable than what you get. The major question to ask on the job is not what am I getting here? The major question to ask on the job is what am I becoming here?
Everybody wears this public mask, or this social mask, I call it, where it's who they want everybody to think they are. It's the best put version of themselves. And if you're not careful, you begin to compare your own real identity with other people's public mask. Don't compare yourself. Most of the people you see on social media, or even in your personal life, or even when you go to lunch with them or see them at work, they're wearing what I would call a public mask. And oftentimes what we do in life is we compare our real identity that we're working on and we're growing to their mask. Any comparison doesn't serve us. When you're in a disagreement with somebody, it's the mask they're wearing compared to the identity you have, and then you begin to run a pattern to respond to it.
The life is about growth. You can either go back to your comfort zone, and there you won't find any growth, or you must be willing to go forward and face your fears again and again and again, because you're never going to have a fear-free existence. I mean, some fear is acceptable and legitimate. Being stopped by fear is the difference between having a fear and the fear having you.
Live your life being present to who you are and what your superpower is. Don't be a volunteer victim. You've got something. You came here with something. You were chosen.
If your life and the people that you have in your life creates nightmares for your life, the nightmares that you're having while you're awake, you're witnessing nightmares, drama, dysfunction, negative people, you consuming your life. It's like, oh, there's negative dysfunction and drama, and you're going to walk into the direction of dysfunction and drama. When you go to sleep at night, those nightmares are going to continue till you sleep because of what you're deciding to do while you're awake.
How long is the night? It's only a few hours. Come on. There's never been a double night. So learn to think day when it's night. And then you must learn to think night when it's day. So you must think negative when it's positive. You must think winter when it's summer. You must not be faked out when it's nice. You must think storm in the summer and not get faked out. Work while it's day. Work while it's day, because the night's coming.
So I'd ask yourself today, what are the patterns you're running that don't serve you? Begin to be aware of those patterns. Know who your real identity is. See those patterns when they're happening. Interrupt them. Continue to work on your identity. These two things, I think, are the critical components to making the decisions and the choices in our life. That when we look back, I don't want you to end up in your 80s or 90s and regret the choices you made. Regret the patterns you ran. And that you just unconsciously went through your life without choosing the direction of it, choosing the decisions.
There comes a point in your life when you look in the mirror and who's looking back at you realizes that's all you're ever going to be. Wow, what a blow, what a punch in the gut. And I kept seeking, I kept working at it because the one that I was living wasn't me, and he had to go. You want to be successful? Watch successful people and do what successful people do. And so I'm saying to you, you have something special. You have greatness in you. I want you to write this down. Do what works.
It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. These challenges that you face, they're going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them bring you down. In fact, let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you. Let the adversity you face today turn you into a better person tomorrow.
It's guaranteed the spring will come, but it's not a guarantee of a harvest. Here's the key. You must do something with the spring. Take advantage of the spring. It's an opportunity now to turn things around. It's an opportunity to have a better one than the last one. Now, here's what you must do in the spring. It's a very short season usually. You must hurry. But life at the longest is short. So you must learn to appreciate opportunity and take advantage of it while it's day, while it's time. Now, we call spring a window of opportunity. It may not stay open very long, so take advantage.
You came here to make a difference. You came here to live an impactful life.
Even though you're going through the storm, you're not able to soar as high as you once did, God still gives you grace to run. Run. It gets hard sometimes. You keep running. They talk bad about you out of your presence, but keep running. They don't want to see you get a breakthrough, but keep running. Run. Don't get weary. Run. Don't let them discourage you. Don't let the chickens and geese in your life change your eagle mentality.
If you listen at discouragement, it will cause you to make bad decisions. It will cause you to think that life is not worth living. And secretly, behind the facade of a smile and a good morning and a praise the Lord and a how are you, you will wonder if you're ever going to get out of what you're into.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
Most of y'all have visions and ideas that are sent to you, and you're trying to explain it to other people, and because they were never sent the vision, most of y'all say, well, maybe it's not meant to be. That was something that God sent you. That was your vision, your idea. It's not his or not hers. So what ends up happening is your family, your friends, they end up talking you out of your individual experience that you have with God.
I think that among the things that prevent us from acting is the fear of failure. And if you've already failed, you don't want to fail again, the pain of that. The fear of loss is another thing. Because many times when we do those things that we know we need to do, we feel that we might lose somebody. Many of us don't act because we want other people's approval, and that's not possible. Many of us don't do the things that we want to do and don't act because of lack of self-confidence. We don't believe enough in ourselves.
Watch out for we's, because people will control you with a we, and you will miss your opportunity trying to be loyal to the we, and all of a sudden, in order to fit in your sociological environment, you passed up the promotion, you passed up the position that you wanted to take because you want the people you're sitting beside to like you and accept you.
The little decisions that you make, they matter. They add up, and you have to connect those dots. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going to end up. And it might be bad.
I just beat me. This ain't about nobody else. I just beat me. If I can keep beating myself, pause, if I can keep doing that, then that means that I'm in a battle with the only person that I really want and beat, and that's me. I don't care about anybody else. I have no worry or gripe about the next man or woman's journey. That's not what I'm up against. If I can continue to outdo me from the day before, then I'm ahead.
All the rearview mirror does is allows you to see what you've passed and to prevent what you've passed from coming up on you again. The windshield is your future. It's where you're going. It's where you're headed. I hope you all picked up this today. And think about that, how that affects your life.
Don't dilute the vision and don't pollute it with how you want it. Don't weaken it by diluting it. Don't pollute it by adding to it. Some of the people you're trying to straighten out, they're not going to ever be straightened out. They're chickens when you're supposed to be sailing with the eagles. And that chicken with all that gawking and flapping ain't going to never fly. And you just chasing behind something that's not going to ever jump over 4 feet in the air. You could have been soaring with eagles and you're fooling with them chickens. They're chickens. Feed them and keep on walking.
Enlightened self-interest needs to be educated. I will learn that life is not just the passing of time. I will learn that life is the collection of experiences, highs and lows, laughter and tears. You must decide to act. You must have the discipline to act. One discipline affects another discipline. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone.
If you're always seeking a certain status to validate who you are, you're never going to have peace. You can't climb up to find yourself. You have to find yourself so you can climb up. So you can be who you are before anybody knows who you are.
What we wish we had done is the voice of regret, speaking in a sorrowful tone at a time when there is no going back. This is regret.
Why do we live our life to be validated so much by strangers? Why do we let these people dictate how we feel about ourselves? Our self-esteem, our worth depends on if they like it or not. Who cares? Those people ain't gonna be there when times get hard. Those people don't even like you. Half of them don't. Those people don't really care about you.
When you're about to make those extreme jumps and leaps, it's always going to be your friends and your family. They will be the first ones to try and talk you out of what God has put on your heart to do.
I don't know what kind of odds are against you today, physically, financially. I don't know what kind of storm has come or trying to come into your life. If you wait too long to decide what you're going to do with your life, you'll find out that you've already done it. You have to learn to start where you are. Big doors swing on little hinges.
When you start renaming it and you start reframing it and you choose to remain in it, what happens is you produce this word. It's called resiliency. The righteous man, he falls 7 times, but he gets back up. I'm choosing today to get back up, to remain in the grind.
We all have these tough moments in life. And see, they can make you or they can break you. Come on now. Come on, bring it. Come on now. I had to replace fearfulness with being fearless and take the initiative to do something else with my life.
Greatness is not inherited. It's not the result of birth, in other words. You can be born high and live low. Or you can be born low, but you can still live high. Your greatness is not determined by your pedigree or the family that you were born into. Your parents can be great and you can be a dummy.
The key to your future is the successful management of time and change. You can't stop time, so all you can do with them is manage them. And you become what you are based on how you manage both of them.
Every time you learn something new, you push something old out of your brain. See, a lot of people don't want to learn now, and that's okay. That's none of your business, none of my business. But if you're one of those like me, hungry, people that are hungry are willing to learn. You're keeping your mind active because you're engaged in this thing called life. You still have a presence. You're a force to be reckoned with. You have greatness in you. Yes, I'm going for it. There are more lives for me to touch, more lives for me to transform.
It's going to happen. It's almost not that bad. It's kind of like those of you that are fit. You've sort of accepted that before you go to the gym and get there, you're going to have to suffer. And we go anyway. It becomes a habit.
It takes discipline to change a habit, because habits are formed a little bit each day, every day. Once habits are formed, they act like a giant cable that only long-term disciplined activity can change. It takes the consistent application of a new discipline, a more desirable one, to overcome one which is less desirable. We must unweave every strand of the cable of habits slowly and methodically.
If it does not measure up to my expectations, I'm not going to invest my time. I don't have the luxury to waste time. I'm expecting some great things from life. So examine your expectations versus your wishes. Some people wish they could do better, but some people expect to do better. Where are you on that?
Time is an amazing power. Every day, week, month, or year is a gift given to us by God to complete a task.
The human mind isn't used merely because we take it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. It can do any kind of job we assign to it, but generally speaking, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. Decide now. What is it you want? Plant your goal in your mind. It's the most important decision you'll ever make in your entire life.
Oh, when you give as much time and energy to your dream, to this new vision of yourself, I'll give you all your eyes can see. When you give as much time and energy to what you see, that creates the opening for miracles to show up in your life.
Do you want to be an outstanding salesman, a better worker at your particular job? Do you want to go places in your company, in your community? All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind. Care for it. Work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality.
Dream chasing isn't for the serious. It's for the sincere. And the difference between being serious and being sincere is that serious people have a can-do attitude. Sincere people have a must-do attitude. That's how dreams become reality. They become a must. My children must survive. My life must change.
Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? There may be many answers to this question. Fundamental answer is the absence of discipline.
Motivate doesn't mean to yell and scream and encourage. To motivate actually means to provide a motive, a reason why.
Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal.
You know, what would you want from your friendships? What would you want from your intimate relationship? How would you like to structure your family? Well, how are you going to use your time outside of your job? And how are you going to regulate your mental and physical health, and maybe also your drug and alcohol use?
Typically, discouragement strikes at the midpoint of a project. Halfway up the mountain, you go, I still got to get to the top, and then I got to get all the way back. We get discouraged when something takes longer than I expected.
Anticipation is the ultimate advantage. Winners, leaders anticipate, losers react. The reason you get beat is you don't know where things are happening, so you're reacting. Reaction is always stressful. And yet so much of our life is predictable if we just were to study it, not be caught up in our day-to-day. It's predictable the challenges you're going to have in your relationships or with your kids or with your body. These are predictable. And if you were to anticipate these things and put a strategy in place, you could take it all out and have the quality of life that you deserve. Those that anticipate, those that lead, and then there's those that follow. The followers are the reactionaries.
The system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards and a life of discipline. Each has its own price, the price of discipline or the price of regret. We will pay one or the other.
Somebody said there's some good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. I want you to become involved in an active process to get some clutter out of your life. Start working on it. I'm going home tonight to clean my closets. Let's go home. Let that be our task this week.